Disclaimer! The following episode contains spoilers for Scoob! Don't go crying to your mum if we spoil it for you. You've been warned. Welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. And this week, Zoink Scoob! What the fuck are we watching? Cue the music! Hello there, Capers, and as I said, welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. My name is Scott James Merridew, and this is the show where we talk about various geek and nerd-related topics, and I'm joined each week by a very special different guest. My guest today is Jillian DiBlasio. How are you doing, Jillian?
Yo, pretty good, I guess, considering what I had to watch yesterday.
Yeah, sorry about that. Now, I want to talk about this movie, I really do, but first we have to address something. I don't always like to talk about stuff that's going on in the world, but considering what's been going on in the world recently, we can't not. For once, it's not about coronavirus, except it kind of is, but it mainly isn't. The Black Lives Matter protests. How are you coping with everything, Jillian?
As good as I can.
Yeah, because, we can't not talk about it because this is so worth talking about. And don't get me wrong, Capers, don't worry. We're going to talk about the silly animated movie. We're gonna get there, but before we have to do that, I just want to say, I'm a guy on the internet who has a platform. It's a small platform, but it's mine. And I'm pretty sure, I know we're listened to by good people. But I just want to say that Black Lives Matter. I know the last thing this whole thing needs is another white guy injecting his opinion into stuff, but nevertheless, for what it's worth, I stand with the protesters, support them. I have not been able to do so physically because I am trapped in the UK, in Oxfordshire, in a place where as I talk with other people, I am just trying to discover is more and more racist with each passing moment. And so there's very little I can do. I don't have a lot of money right now, so I can't really contribute financially, but I can do this. And I can't promise anything, but I will say I want to do something bigger. So keep an ear out, Keepers, keep an eye out, because you never know, in the coming weeks of Podcapers, we may do something bigger. But right now, I just want to say what America is doing, what your country, Jillian, is doing right now is fighting fascism, which,
Yep.
as we know from history class, has not been particularly kind to people who aren't white. And that's the core of this. It's always been about Black Lives Mattering and Black Lives not being snuffed out by a racist system. But beyond that, I think a lot of people called it before, but now we know for certain, there can be zero doubt, you are living in a fascist state. You have my deepest sympathies.
Yep. I mean, there's other things you can do too if, you don't live in the US or, you don't feel safe to, go out and protest, because I get it. I mean, I'm in LA. There's protests happening. I don't really feel comfortable going out with the coronavirus still a thing, but there's emails that you could send out. There's petitions that you can sign. There's phone calls you can make. Listening to the LA, I think it was the LA police commissioner have that 7-hour meeting where people in LA were just
the live stream.
Yeah, that gave me life. So there are ways that you can contribute if you can't contribute physically or with your wallet.
Yeah, and if you don't like the idea of, racist police killing innocent people purely based on the colour of their skin, if you don't like living in a fascist state where the police are ordered and seemingly are okay with firing rubber bullets into people's faces, arresting journalists on television, firing at paramedics and doctors, and pepper spraying little children in the face, there is stuff you can do. And I'm sure you're probably already on top of it. I'm sure you know what you're doing, but just in case, we're going to have something on there. And I just want to take this moment just to say, you can win this. because protests work, and
We're
opposition has always been fascism's downfall.
Yeah, we're already kind of winning this. The Black Lives Matter movement in LA threatened to sue. I don't remember who they threatened to sue, but they did supposedly threaten to sue a part of the government in LA, and because of that, we don't have a curfew anymore.
Okay,
So
that's great.
bitching,
My
bitching and
my
moaning does work. Protesting does work. We just have to keep at it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Just keep at it. Don't stop. If you think the time has come, okay, now we can ease off, honestly,
No.
keep going, because the second you do, everything will revert back to the way it was. I've seen it happen, and it's just. This is not about me, obviously, but here's the thing. My grandparents had to leave their homes because of fascism, because of people like this. They weren't in as direct danger as a lot of people in America are and have been, but this is not a new thing, and this is something that people in living memory can remember. And you don't need me to tell you this. You don't need me to tell you this, but just keep going, because you know what? The more you do it, the more people will stand with you, and there will be opposition, and it will be difficult, and it will be hard. It's easy for me to say that, but you can do it, and I promise you, it's worth it to always stand up to people like that. But you know what? If you're feeling a bit tired about that, if you are, I can only imagine, because I'm white, because I have that privilege, I can only imagine how tired some people must be of fighting this good fight. But there are respites in life, like watching a fucking atrocious Scooby Doo movie. And that's going to
Yeah.
be our stupid segue into this. I mean, because I wanted to, I was excited for this. When I
Oh,
thought,
see,
oh
I
my,
wasn't.
well, that's it, because I'm a huge Scooby Doo fan. So when I saw, oh, they're doing a new animated Scooby Doo movie, I was like, oh hell yeah, get the fuck out of here, live action Scooby Doo movies. The OG Scooby is back. And then I saw the trailers and I thought, okay, this looks a bit weird, but Scooby Doo is a show about a bunch of mystery solving teens with talking dogs. So you know what? That's fine. That's okay. Then the reviews started coming in and stuff happened, and the podcast schedule got caught up a bit. We had technical issues last episode and delayed a bunch of stuff. So we're getting to this a bit later than I'd hoped, but we're here now, and what the fuck is this?
I don't know. I'd rather watch the live action movie, to be totally honest with you.
I mean, at least for all the problems I have with the live action movies, at least they're coherent. At
Yep.
least they felt like a Scooby-Doo movie. A
Yeah.
terrible Scooby-Doo movie, but a Scooby-Doo movie. What? This isn't a Scooby-Doo movie. This is the Hanna Barbera Cinematic Universe starter pack.
Yes. Yes, it is. And as somebody who doesn't give a shit about the other Hanna Barbera characters that make an appearance in this movie, it's very boring.
But here's the thing, I do. I mean, I was obviously not around when the first Hanna-Barbera cartoons first came around, but when I was a kid, bear in mind, when I was a kid living in the UK, this was before, like, digital TV, and I know, like, at that time, Americans had cable. We didn't have that in our house. I don't think we even had satellite, so there was a very limited amount of programs I could watch as a kid. And I had the Saturday morning cartoons and stuff, and, imports from America and Japan and all that sort of stuff. But what I spent a lot of my time as a kid watching was Scooby Doo and Wacky Races and Catch the Pigeon and all that good shit. And then there's this, who just incorporates all of that and puts together and thinks, this is a cohesive thing. And it's like, no.
Nope.
Even if, oh God, we better just fucking start at the beginning. First of all, I want to address something. The animation. I liked it.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, I'm still a stickler for these kinds of things, so like if it's something that's predominantly been two-dimensional, like I want it to stay as 2D animation, so I was a little bit bummed by that, but let's be real, it's never going to happen, and this animation's fine.
Well, I agree with you. I think this animation is pretty good. I enjoyed it. I never thought for a second that I wasn't watching the Scooby-Doo characters. It was just in a different art form. And we've had different art styles over the many, many years. But like I said, they were all 2D animated. and now they're not. And really, there's no excuse to be doing that anymore. Like, you can do CGI animation if you want, but then we got Klaus, and it's just like, okay, so now we know there's
Yeah.
another way. And
Yep.
so,
I mean, it's the same way that I felt about Wreck-It Ralph, Ralph Breaks the Internet when the princesses showed up. Like, yeah, it's fine, but like, it's still weird to look at because I would prefer to see those characters in 2D animation because that's how they were originally created. So,
and I prefer not
I
to
don't know.
see them at all, with the possible
Yeah,
exception of
well,
Merida, which they she's Scottish, so we don't understand her accent. Fuck you, fuck you. Anyway, that's another movie that I don't like. But anyway, so how do we start Scoob with the Scooby Gang Mystery Incorporated solving a mystery? No, we start with Scooby Doo as a puppy because we got to link this to a pup named Scooby Doo for some reason which I cannot fathom. And he's a stray and he's on the run from the law, I guess. And he runs into a young Shaggy. And it's weird to see Child Shaggy. That is always weird. Child Velma? Not weird. Child Fred? Not really that weird. Child Daphne? Not weird. Child Scooby, even. Kind of weird, but not that weird. Child Shaggy is weird. He uses, like, he's voiced by Ian Armitage, like the kid who's done Young Sheldon. And to hear him say, like a man and all that hippie slang feels weird. I don't want to think of Young Sheldon smoking from a bong.
yeah.
Anyway, and they meet each other, and Shaggy apparently is very lonely because he doesn't have any friends. Maybe because he talks like a guy from the 1960s, who knows? But then he meets Scooby, and they have an instant bond, instant connection due to their love of absolutely terrible but massively oversized sandwiches. And you know what? For a Shaggy Scooby meet cute introduction thing, it's not half bad. And then we get to this line. This fucking line. So the cop goes to see them, and he's just like, "Hey, I'm going to take that straight in." And Shaggy's like, "I'm not going to do the voice. I can do the voice, but I'm not going to do the voice because he's a kid. It's weird." He's just like, "No, that's my dog." "Oh, really? What's his name?" And he looks down at a box of Scooby snacks, and I was like, "Oh, I see what you did there." Because I always wondered, is Scooby Snacks named after Scooby Doo, or is Scooby Doo named after Scooby Snacks? Now we know he's named after Scooby Snacks, and so Shaggy says his name is Snacks, and that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest problems I have with this movie. It's actually funny. And you might think that's a positive, not a negative. No, it's a negative. Here's why. The plot is terrible. The characters are terrible, but they're all funny. What am I meant to do with that?
Yep.
I mean, don't get me wrong, not all the jokes work, but I did find myself laughing at this movie, and I just think, like, if they just focused and, I don't know, just made a cohesive narrative, this movie would be fucking amazing. They're clearly talented.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really the plot that gets to me, that irritated me. That, and when we get to the adult characters, I wasn't a fan of the voice acting, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But then the cop presses him further and he says his name is Scooby Dooby Doo. And then the cop says another funny line. "Oh, well, if he has a middle name, I guess that's fine then. No laws broken here." And it's just like, I'm so confused. It's weird, but it's funny. And then I thought that was going to be the end of it. Then we transition to them as adults. No, we go on a bit further with Shaggy and Scooby going to his house. He gives Scooby a collar that he just managed to get in between scenes. And Scooby's like, "Oh, never take it off, Raggy." That sounded scary. That sounded like a scary Doo, not a Scooby-Doo. Anyway, Mark Russell's better in impersonations of Scooby-Doo. Anyway, and then I thought, okay, now they're going to transition to adulthood. No, then they have to meet the rest of Mystery Incorporated, young Fred, Velma, and Daphne on Halloween, and they're all dressed in different costumes. Scooby and Shaggy are dressed as Blue Falcon and Dino Mutt, a superhero team that they like. Fred is dressed as a knight. Daphne is dressed as Wonder Woman. and because you got to use that Warner Brothers cross connection somehow. And Velma is dressed as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which makes me instantly love her.
Yeah.
Because of course Velma
Yeah,
would be.
no, yeah, exactly.
But then a bunch of bullies steal their candy and they throw it into this supposedly haunted mansion. So they're going to get it and encounter, oh no, a ghost. But then they discover the ghost is actually fake, and it's all a plot to hide a bunch of stolen stuff, and thus Mystery Inc. is born. And I was like, okay, fine. That took up way more time than it needed to, but there, we have established for the kids who've never seen Scooby Doo before what Mystery Inc. is. Great. What now? Oh, it's the original Scooby Doo intro, but with the new animation and a frankly subpar pop song covering the song. I mean,
Yep.
I mean, they matched up pretty great, actually. The animation, I mean, it's not difficult to do, obviously, but the animation does match up to the original intro. Except there's one bit where Fred has a romantic picnic on the beach with the Mystery Machine.
Yeah.
Does Fred want to fuck his car?
I mean, I guess. I don't know with this movie.
Anything could happen. Oh god, and then so they establish as Mr. Inc. And then they grow up, years pass by, and they decide, okay, we want to turn this into an actual profitable business, but we need startup capital, specifically an investor. And who do they get to invest? Simon Cowell.
Yeah.
No, I'm not joking.
No, I know.
I know you know, because you've
Yeah.
seen the movie. You suffered alongside me. But the capers who haven't seen this movie, they would think, oh, he's joking. He doesn't actually mean Simon Cowell. No.
He
Simon Cowell, IRL, voices Simon Cowell in the movie, who apparently is an entrepreneur who invests in business and is more than... Yes, because multi-billionaire, however much he's got, Simon Cowell, creator of several award-winning, profitable TV shows, you know, Mr. fucking expose man cleavage to the stars, wants to invest in a small mystery solving business. And this is okay, so I get it. Because the original show and subsequent versions had celebrity cameos. There's like Scooby Doo meets the Harlem Globetrotters, and recently, like Batman.
But the thing about those is that the whole episode would have that character or cameo with them throughout the whole episode. It's not just like a one-off.
In Scooby Doo meets Kiss, they didn't meet Kiss for 5 minutes and then fuck off without them. If you go on an adventure with Kiss, you stay with Kiss. And
yeah, exactly.
He's just kind of it's just a cameo. He's just there. And having said that, though, he does bring up one thing which I actually kind of really like. I think it's a good addition. He outlines why he wants to invest but isn't going to invest. He says that Fred is the tank, the muscle, which actually when watching the movie, he's not that strong, effective physically. So I don't know where he gets off calling him that. But then he says Velma is the brains. Obviously, she's the most valuable member. She could do this whole thing by herself if she wanted. But then he says Daphne is the people person, the empath. And honestly, based on the characterization of Daphne in this movie and previous versions, I'd say that's actually kind of accurate.
Yeah.
And because I've always had this big sort of question mark over Daphne. Like, I get why she would want to be part of Mystery Inc., but what does she bring to Mystery Inc.? And previous versions have tried different things in order to make her fit more. This is the perfect version because she's very much a people person and is good at empathizing with people and connecting with people, and it works really well for her character, but she still feels like the Daphne we know and love. So, you know what? Yeah, well done, Scooby-Doo, or Scoob the movie. You added something to the Scooby-Doo lore that hasn't really been added before that makes perfect sense. You get a small, tiny hand clap. That's all you get, but still. But then he goes to Shaggy and Scooby, he's just like, what do you two bring? And I'm just here sitting like, yeah, what do they bring? Because as much as there's been a question mark over Daphne, there's an even bigger question mark over Shaggy and Scooby. Because, like, why do they want to be detectives hunting down ghosts? They're scared of ghosts. What's in it for them?
I mean, I always saw it as like it's just a group of friends, you know. They wanna hang out with their buddies.
Yeah,
And
okay,
if that
yeah,
means
fair enough.
hunting ghosts, even though they don't like it, they're gonna do it anyway.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But nevertheless, Simon Cowell is unimpressed. He says, I'm not going to invest. I thought, can I do a Simon Cowell impression? No, I can't. I'm not even going to try. I'm not going to invest because of these two. And he basically says, friendship is useless because I'm Simon Cowell and I hate everything. And so Shaggy and Scooby slink off and decide to go bowling when they're suddenly attacked by what I can only describe as bowling ball spider slayers.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Why? I don't know, but sure.
And they come right the fuck out of nowhere. There's no build up to
Yeah.
this. Just suddenly,
Yeah, exactly.
one minute they're bowling balls and bowling pins. The next minute they're fucking scorpion robots that can also turn into like cute robots.
Yeah.
And Shaggy and Scooby get away from them through the bowling alley, but then are suddenly, okay. So when I say this, it's not going to make any sense, and the reason for that is because in the movie it doesn't make any sense. There is no way.
I was gonna say that's the whole movie is that it doesn't make any sense.
There is no context I could possibly put this into before the fact. So you're just gonna have to bear with me, Capers, as I explain weird shit and try and make sense of it all. They're abducted by a giant falcon plane with like a tractor beam, like a UFO, and they have beamed up into this ship, escaping from the robots, and they are met by Blue Falcon, Dynomutt, and their pilot of the ship, DD Skies. You might be wondering yourself, who the fuck is Blue Falcon? I know you mentioned him earlier, but does he have any greater context? Yeah, he's a Hanna Barbera character that I know absolutely nothing about, as is Dynomutt and DD Sykes. Why are they in this movie?
Who the fuck knows?
Who the fuck knows? They had the characters, they had the rights to them, so I guess they decided to just put them in. And this is the point where the movie ceases to be a Scooby Doo movie. You might have thought, oh, It's called Scoob. It's got the Scooby Doo logo and like all the mystery and characters are on the poster. This is a Scooby Doo, right? No, it's not. Scooby Doo is in it, or the Scooby Doo characters are in it, but it's not a Scooby Doo movie. Now it's a Hanna Barbera movie, which I'd be fine with if they marketed it like that. Scooby-Doo could be the focus, sure, because more people, he's probably the most famous Hanna-Barbera character. But just make it the Hanna-Barbera All-Star Variety Hour. I don't care, but no, so not Scooby-Doo movie anymore. There's not even a mystery now that I think about it.
I know, there isn't a mystery. That's why I was so annoyed at this movie. I'm not gonna lie, like maybe like halfway through the movie, I just started reading my book at the same time because I was like, this is not even like a Scooby-Doo movie. This is just a movie that happens to have Scooby-Doo characters in it, and it's more of like a superhero movie. And I'm just like, whatever. I do not give a shit about this. Thank God this movie was on demand. And I didn't have to go to the theater to watch it.
What was the book?
Oh, I'm reading The Vampire Lestat. Classic.
Good?
Yeah, it's great. It's better than this crap.
I've always been kind of anti Anne Rice, but that I think I got some misinformation about the nature of her books, and now that I've learned a bit more about them, I kind of want to give them a go.
Yeah, I know that later on in the series it doesn't get that good. Like it kind of starts to tank, but I have heard that the first two books are really good. I've already read the first one. I read it a couple years ago, and I was just like, fuck it, let me read the second one. So,
right, so when you say the first two books, do you mean Lestat and Queen of the Damned, or do you mean
Oh no,
Lestat
Interview with the Vampire is the first one.
Oh, it's
And
Interview
then
with a Vampire, not the
in
Vampire.
no, the Interview with the Vampire.
Oh. Oh, well, that makes even less sense.
Or is it? I don't remember. It's I think it's no. It's Interview with. Is it the or
Google!
the? Yeah, exactly. Hold on. Interview with Interview with the Vampire is the first one, and then the second one is the Vampire Lestat.
Okay. Because I understand there's a bit of a retcon that goes on with
There is,
Lestat.
there is, but I don't care. Whatever, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
well written, so I don't give a shit. But
And Rice is a very prolific writer, and I do kind of want to give it a shot. Why are we talking about fucking gay vampire romance novels? We should be talking about Scoob.
Because it's better than that shit. I will also say that I walked into the kitchen for like 2 minutes while the Simon Cowell scene was going on. So when I went into the kitchen, it was just them talking at the table, and all of a sudden my boyfriend says, "Why is Simon Cowell in this movie?" And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? He's not in this movie." And then I peer into the living room, and there he fucking is on the screen. And I was just like, why? Why?
Oh, I mean, at least in Shrek 2, he was in a DVD extra. Like, what
Yeah.
is he doing in a main movie? Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Anyway. Focus, goddammit. So, they're on the Blue Falcon ship, and they meet Blue Falcon, Dee Dee, and Dynamite. Dee Dee is voiced by Kirsty Clemens, Dynamite is voiced by Ken Jeong, and Blue Falcon is voiced by Mark Wahlberg. I will say this. The voice acting is mixed because some of it is just okay. I don't think there's any bad performances, but I think it's just okay, some of them. And other times it's perfect. And one of the great examples of it being perfect, oddly enough, is Mark Wahlberg as Blue Falcon.
Yeah, he's great. I didn't have a problem with him. Honestly, the voice acting that I had a problem with was the cast of the Scooby Doo characters. Like, Scoob was fine, but everybody else, I was not a fan of them.
We'll hold off on them for the moment, but it's just like,
yeah.
The thing with Mark Wahlberg is, I've never been a huge fan of him. I respect him as an actor. I think he's a good actor, but I've just never been a huge fan of his. But you know what? When he's good, he's very good. And in this movie, he just kind of he does what I like to call a Kiefer Sutherland, in that if he's in a role, no matter what it is, he just throws himself into it. Because like Kiefer Sutherland, here's the thing, a lot of celebrity voice actors, people who don't have actually a lot of experience with proper voice acting, like so many hundreds of great voice actors do, but don't get any recognition for. But they don't really give their A game a lot of the time. For reference, look at Chris Rock's acceptance speech, or that speech he did at some award show where he talked about how easy it is to be a voice actor. Like, I love you, Chris. I love you, but you're wrong. You are so wrong. But then you've got someone like Kiefer Sutherland, who was in. There's two examples to give. One is a shitty D&D straight to video movie based on like this Dragonlance thing, and the other is Monsters vs. Aliens. With Monsters vs. Aliens, I didn't recognize his voice because he transformed it into. He played W.R. Monger, so he transformed his kind of gruff but pretty naturalistic voice into a stereotypical warmongering, get it, that's the name, general voice, and it was a complete performance, and it's brilliant. Whereas in the Dungeons and Dragons thing, he uses a voice similar to his own, but here's the thing, it turns out, despite the fact that it's a shitty, poorly animated, poorly written D&D movie, he did a lot of research into Dungeons and Dragons, something he wasn't very familiar with. He actually committed himself to the role. He didn't have to. There was no obligation, and his performance would probably have been just as good, but he went the extra mile, and I will always appreciate that, and it seems like that's what Mark Wahlberg did here. He really, really, really tried and gave 100%, and it shows. So, well done, Mark Wahlberg. You get your own separate small hand clap. Moving on. And, oh, God. So, I've got to be honest, I'm not familiar with Blue Falcon, Dynamite, or Dee Dee Sykes at all. I didn't bother to do any research because, frankly, I shouldn't have to do research and understand who these characters are and where they come from. But
yeah, I agree.
But this movie does explain a bit. Basically said that there was a previous Blue Falcon, this Blue Falcon, who we shall now call Brian, because that's his name in the movie, his father, who was partnered with this Dynamite, who's like a robot dog. Gotta wonder what kind of existence that is. They don't really go into any details. And also, I love how he can talk normally, but none of the other dogs in the movie can. Like,
Yep.
that's just weird, but then it's a cartoon, who cares? But here's the thing, Ken Jeong voices Dynamite, and you think he'd be the crazy one? But he plays it so deadpan and serious, it's actually kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
And it turns out their dynamic is Blue Falcon doesn't take his superhero job very seriously, Dynamite does, and they butt heads, and they have a pretty good back and forth. All the while, Dee Dee just tries to do the job as best she can. And it turns out that Scooby and Shaggy are somehow involved with this scheme involving the villain of the movie. Who could it be? A brand new villain for this brand new Scooby Doo movie? Perhaps an old returning villain? Ooh, maybe he's voiced by Tim Curry. No, it's motherfucking Dick Dastardly.
Yep.
Are you at all familiar with Dick Dastardly?
Honestly, I don't know who the fuck any of these people are except for the Scooby Gang.
Okay,
I have no idea.
Here's the thing about Dick Dastardly. I fucking love Dick Dastardly because... So, there's a show that, if you haven't watched, your parents have. Trust me on this. Ask them about it. They'll tell you. There was a show called Wacky Races, and it was a bunch of colourful characters in a race, but the villain of the story was Dick Dastardly, who became sort of like his own pop culture icon in his own right. Nowhere near as big as Scooby Doo, but still, he had another TV show afterwards, Catch the Pigeon, and that's a whole other thing. But in Wacky Races, his goal was to win the race. But here's the thing: he always tried to do so by cheating. And he had this psychic, Muttley, who was awesome, and it was just it sounds. But it is silly. It was silly, but you know what? It was a fucking awesome cartoon. It was very funny. I loved it. And I had so many mixed feelings because I just want a Scooby-Doo movie, but here I am seeing Dick Dastardly again, voiced by Jason Isaacs, and I can't hate him. I just can't. It's not in me. I'm sorry, Capers. I'm not strong enough. Dick Dastardly has no reason to be in this movie. He's not like... And when I say Dick Dastardly, I don't mean like he's secretly someone else, or it's Dick Dastardly pretending to be someone else, like a spooky ghost. No, it's just...
he's just there. It's just him.
It's just him. But you know what? I can't hate him, because again, Jason Isaacs voices him, and he does a 100% performance as well, fully committing to being Dick Dastardly, and I love it, and I want to hug him, and cradle him, and tell him everything's going to be okay! I'm sorry, I slipped into a bit of a nostalgia rant for a second there. I do apologise. But, oh god. So, Dick Dastardly in this movie isn't trying to catch a messenger pigeon. That was literally the entire plot of Catch the Pigeon. Nor is he trying to rig a race. He's trying to steal... Oh my god, it's so stupid. Oh my god, it's so stupid. But here we go. Here we go, Capers. You ready for this? He's trying to steal the 3 skulls of Cerberus to open a portal to the underworld.
Yep.
And just like that, I can't take this movie about a bunch of mystery-solving teens with a talking dog seriously anymore.
Nope.
I'm going to elaborate on that later, but for now, that's the setup, that's the plan. And Shaggy and Scooby are geeking out about being near Blue Falcon. Dynamite is being sarcastic. And meanwhile, you might be wondering, hey, where's Fred, Daphne, and Velma? Don't worry, the movie forgot about them too.
Yep. Yes, it did.
There are so many scenes until we get back to the rest of the Mystery Incorporated gang. I keep calling them the Scooby Gang, but that's the Buffy the Vampire Slayer cast, and we can't confuse that. Oh, God. So the Blue Falcon jet, I don't know if it has a name, I'm just going to call it the Blue Falcon jet, is suddenly being chased by Dick Dastardly's airship, which looks fucking awesome. It's like grungy and dirty. It's very much the Dick Dastardly aesthetic. Go watch Wacky Races. I love the show, but the title is hard for me to say sometimes before I turn into Jonathan Ross. Anyway. And so they escape by doing this big spin thing, and the G-forces cause Shaggy and Scooby's face to, like...
Yep. That's it. Keep going, Bars.
I thought Wacky Races was going on outside your room for a second there. Anyway, the G-forces causes their faces to stretch comically. I say comically, I'm sure that's what the animators intended, but actually, what it looks like is fucking horrifying. The skin is stretched back over their skulls in a way that makes them look like death marks. Their eyes go hollow, and you see the cavernous insides of their mouths, and it's not funny at all. It's scary. It looks scary. How the fuck did you make Shaggy and Scooby look scary, movie?
I don't know.
But they manage to get away, and Dick Dastardly is not amused by that, and he confronts like his robot minions, and he's really scared. He's like, "Oh, for the days when I had a good sidekick," and then he produces a photo of Muttley. He's like, "But he's gone now," and I'm just sitting here thinking, "Holy shit! Did they kill Muttley?" Spoiler alert, he's not dead. We find that out later. But it's a good long while until they explain that. So for most of the movie, I thought they killed, off-screen, a beloved character from my childhood. I was so scared.
I'm sorry for the fear that you had.
I just like, why? Why the fuck would you kill Muttley? It's like... I don't know, it's like killing that little cat from the Looney Tunes, like, Tiny Cat, Big Dog sort of cartoons. You remember those? With the cat that goes on the guy's back and then they love each other? It's like that, except Muttley isn't cute, but he's awesome. And why? Why would you make me think that, movie? Fuck you! But anyway, after that, then we finally cut to Fred, Daphne, and Velma, and they discover that they're with a Blue Falcon, thanks to Blue Falcon tweeting all of the time, and they start doing, like, a bunch of detective work. I say they, Velma, obviously.
Yeah,
Velma.
exactly. Velma does everything.
Velma does the detective work, and discovers that Dick Dastardly is behind this all, and he's been stealing the genealogical records of various kennel clubs. Well, actually, I think in the movie it's a kennel club across the world. Interesting. And they discover that he has ties to a scrapyard somewhere. I don't know. And by the way, if you, in case you're wondering if there's any references to Wacky Races in this movie, none that I could see. No explanation. Like, ooh, I was expecting a line like Velma saying, "Wow, he's had a prolific career, attempting to intercept messages with carrier pigeons, rigging races, weapons of mass destruction." I don't know, stuff like that. But no, they never say it. He's just like a bad guy, generic.
They also spoon feed you the mystery. Like nothing. We're just going to tell you everything.
Yeah. But anyway. So they decide to go to the scrapyard. Along the way, they're pulled over by... Oh, God. How can I describe this? How can I... You know what? Jillian, you describe the person that they're pulled over by.
A police officer who happens to be a woman.
And could you describe this woman?
She is very pretty.
No. She's not very pretty. She looks and acts like a police officer played by a woman in a goddamn porn film.
Yes.
I like to point out that this is a children's movie.
Yes. We gotta have some adult jokes for the adults that are forced to sit through this crap, even though really, I feel like it's the adults' fault for letting their kid watch this movie in the first place, instead of just putting on the original cartoons, or Scooby Doo Zombie Island, which is far superior.
Oh, it's so uncomfortable. I mean, they don't make it too overt, but it's kind of overt. And Fred makes googly eyes at her, and she orders them out. And then it turns out that this Officer Bimbo was actually Dick Dastardly in disguise, and and that raises. I have so many questions. How did he? I don't want the answers. To be clear, I do not want the answers to these questions. But I have the questions, and they will haunt me until my dying day. Where did he get the book? I can't. I can't. He captures them. Moving on. And if you're wondering, oh, okay, so that's their risque joke. That's the only, adult humor they have. You poor deluded fools. I mean, before this scene, there's a joke in which Dynamite told Blue Falcon that he needs to get off social media because actually, no, I think it was after this. Well, whatever. It was. He makes a joke like saying, "You thought that the Tinder app was an app for delivering firewood," and I'm just sitting there thinking, why is there a Tinder joke in Scooby Doo?
For the adults.
But no, because adults. Here's the thing: you don't need to make adult jokes to appeal to adults. If you just have broad humor that can be enjoyed by all ages, adults will like that, and the kids will like that. What you're doing, you're not diversifying your audienceship. You're not, appealing to adults. What you're doing is not appealing to children, who are your target audience. And let's be honest, because this movie was released on demand and not in cinemas, chances are the parents didn't have to bring their kids to the cinema to see this movie. They just stuck them in front of the TV or the laptop or the iPad at home and just let them watch it. Adults, parents, didn't have to watch this movie if they didn't want to. All they need to do is just check in on the kid to make sure Billy hasn't suffocated himself again.
Right, but to be fair, that wasn't the original plan when this movie was being made.
Fair enough, but guys, it makes me really uncomfortable, and they should know better because the live-action Scooby-Doo movies tried to incorporate adult humor, and it failed miserably. So now they have zero excuse. But anyway, so Mystery Inc. has been captured by Dick Dastardly, but Blue Falcon, meanwhile, gets a message on Tinder from Anonymous. He's too stupid to figure out that that's an obvious trap. That the second Cerberus skull is not in the Gobi Desert as they originally think, but actually in a disused fairground, because it's Scooby-Doo, of course it's a disused fairground. Come on. Fair enough. And they discover that it's actually a trap by Dick Dastardly, who then unleashes his robots upon them. And, oh god. And it turns out that he doesn't want Shaggy and Scooby, he just wants Scooby. And then he gets rid of Shaggy, blasts him through a wall using, a handheld gun of some kind. Weird. And tries to kidnap Scooby-Doo and he chases him into a hall of mirrors type thing, the kind. And I gotta be honest, animation-wise, this whole scene, I actually rather liked it.
Yeah.
There's these different lighting, different angles to establish a tense atmosphere, and they even managed to make it kind of funny. It was actually kind of good, and I hate how this movie beats me over the head with how bad it is, and then just takes a moment to pause and remind me how good it is. And just pick one. Either be all bad or all good. Stop flicking in between. I'm getting quality whiplash here. But anyway, and then Shaggy finds Blue Falcon, who turns out immediately ran away and hid, despite being a superhero. He's not really a superhero, he's just wearing the costume. Also, side note, the costume does look pretty cool.
Yeah, it does.
But because Shaggy knows so much about Blue Falcon, he knows that he has Falcon bombs, or as he puts it, F-bombs. Blue Falcon says to keep it PG.
Ha 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 ha.
hate this, hate this, hate this. Not even the live-action movie stood that blow. Yeah, I fucking said it. But then he throws the F-bombs, but it causes the Ferris wheel they're on to careen out of control. They manage to rescue Scooby Doo and get away from Dick Dastardly, who, by the way, did manage to get the second skull anyway. And oh god, and so they get back to the ship, and it turns out that Scooby Doo apparently is the key to something. What exactly he's the key to, we don't know. But everyone goes on and on about how Scooby Doo has an important destiny and is meant for greatness, basing that on absolutely nothing. Like, yeah, he's important, but destined for greatness? Where are you getting that from? The fuck? And this causes Shaggy to become a wee bit, feeling a little bit left out. And then they decide to give Scooby Doo a superhero costume for no reason, just cause. I mean, they had the machine to give him the costume, and they start spraying it on. It looks kind of cool, but then, it turns out that his original collar is getting in the way of the machine somehow. So he needs to take it off in order to get his new superhero costume that he's never expressed any interest in before. But then he gets a bit concerned because, like, he promised Shaggy when they first met he'd never take it off. And he looks to Shaggy, and Shaggy gives him a slow nod, like, it's okay. And so Scooby-Doo reluctantly takes off the collar and gets the brand new suit. Then Shaggy acts like a pissy bitch for, like, the next half hour of the movie.
Yep. Yes, he does.
Oh, it's so painful. Because,
well, we have to create conflict.
Oh, here's an idea. How about you generate conflict naturally, organically, through the scenario as it develops, rather than forcing it?
Yep.
And then he and Scooby basically bitch at each other. Well, I say that, bitch at each other. Scooby tries to emphasize with Shaggy. Shaggy bitches at him and acts pathetic and jealous and boring and kind of makes me hate him. I don't want to hate Shaggy. I love Shaggy. He is the god of all sandwich artists. But anyway, while that's going on, the Mystery Inc. gang are trapped in Dick Dastardly's flying skyship, and they manage to help thanks to one of the robots that Dastardly kind of mutilated, oddly enough, by ripping off its head and attaching a vacuum to it. And Daphne helps out the vacuum robot, who apparently, I mean, it's kind of implied that the vacuum robot is now in love with her. Like, unless your name is Lando Calrissian, you can't make a romantic relationship with a robot work. I'm just saying.
Yep.
But then they start to sneak around and actually try and do a bit of mystery work. Imagine that in a Scooby-Doo movie.
Oh man, wow, we're gonna actually do mysteries.
Yeah, but then they discover, this is where we get to the whole spoon feeding mystery thing, because that whole discovering the mystery thing lasts about 2 minutes, if that. They uncover a room which includes a shrine to Muttley, and then
they find the room with all the clues and answers that they need.
Just conveniently marked with an alphabetical list of why exactly the villain is motivated to do so. And so apparently his goal is, this is where it's properly revealed that his goal is to open the gates to the underworld, which contains the treasure of... No, I'm not fucking kidding. Believe it or not, Alexander the Great and his dog, Peritas, who apparently is a real thing. I don't know. Apparently the makers of this movie decided to do a lot of research into Alexander the Great's, dog ownership relationship, but not into the original Scooby-Doo cartoon. Priorities, great. And it's revealed that Dastardly tried to create a portal to the underworld to grab the treasure, and he sent Muttley in first because that's what he did. And in fairness, the scene where he describes how he didn't want Muttley to go, but Muttley insisted, and then we actually see him like shoving Muttley through the portal while Muttley complains. That's very much on brand for Dick Dastardly and Muttley's relationship. That I give a thumbs up for. But then it turns out, oh no, Muttley isn't the chosen dog. I guess he's not the diamond in the bark. The rough! Oh, damn it, I messed up the pun. Ah. Oh, God. Anyway, so Muttley gets trapped in the underworld and Dick Dastardly is desperately trying to get back to him. Cool, great. And now I'm just sitting here thinking like, okay, movie, you've successfully managed to make me sympathize with Dick Dastardly. So let's break it down. Mystery Inc., barely developed and kind of annoying. Dick Dastardly,
Yes.
funny, and with a genuine motivation that I can get behind while still staying true to his villainous roots. Why wasn't this a Dick Dastardly movie?
Because they needed the Scoob Gang to be the cameo or the thing that lures you in.
But they're bad at it. They're so bad at it. I don't get. Oh God, it's Anyway, but then they're discovered by Dick Dastardly, who imprisons them again, but then keeps Fred around for something, and we never actually find out what. It's implied that he uses him to form a disguise to pretend to be Fred. But what exactly that process is, we never find out, and we never find out exactly what happened to Fred. So I'm just going to make up a random headcanon and assume, considering this movie is going for a slightly more adult edge, that Dick Dastardly molested Fred.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I mean, we might as well go there.
And you know what? Maybe, despite himself, Fred was into it. You know,
Jesus
maybe he likes the
Christ.
uneven power dynamic. Maybe Fred is a bottom bitch, you know? And that's okay. I'm not going to kink shame you, Fred. But anyway. God. So,
This fucking movie.
this fucking movie's doing shit to me. Anyway, and also, I want to point out, at this point, Velma, throughout the whole movie, has been going on and on about how there's no such thing as ghosts. There's a scientific explanation for everything. But the second she covers a tiny scrap of anecdotal evidence of the existence of Alexandra the Great's underworld, she accepts it immediately, with absolutely zero questions.
Yep.
Oh, God. And so it's revealed that Scooby Doo is actually a descendant of that dog Paratas, and he's the only one who can actually unlock the gates. And they discover that the last skull is in this secret underground place called Messick Mountain, which is a nod to Don Messick. That's a pretty clever nod. That's fair enough. And they head underground and they discover a perfectly preserved island in the middle of this place that's like... There's dinosaurs. There's dinosaurs in it now. Is that, explained? Of course it's not explained. What are you, insane? Of course we don't explain that there's dinosaurs in this place. Morons. So they decide to go and get the skull, but are met by Captain Caveman. Now, I recognize Captain Caveman on sight, not by name. I wasn't that familiar with the character. What did you think, as someone who was not familiar with the character, when you first saw Captain Caveman?
Well, here's the thing. Like, Muttley actually looked familiar to me, but, like, I don't remember anything about him. So, this character, it felt familiar. Like, maybe I had seen it once or twice as a kid and forgot about it, but... I mean, that's not really going to help me much in this film.
Yeah, and he's voiced by Tracy Morgan, who does a fine job, but we don't know anything about Captain Caveman.
Again, who is this movie for exactly?
He's a prehistoric... Yeah, because little kids watching this, they're going to know even less about these characters than you and I do. And
yeah, exactly.
So is this movie for, like, the old school Hanna Barbera people who are, like, in their fucking 60s and 70s right now? Maybe, sure, but they're not going to really dig a lot of the kid humor and stuff, or at least the stupid throwaway adult jokes, because it's not going to match up with their nostalgic memories of these cartoons. So really, this movie appeals to absolutely no one.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh god. But they discover that in order to get the skull, they have to battle Captain Caveman, and Blue Falcon doesn't want to do that, so he tries to get. Oh no! Actually, because he sees Captain Falcon as like a tiny little guy, he's like, "Oh, this is okay." And then he says this line: "I could easily pound the crap out of this little guy." And I'm just thinking, someone said crap in a Scooby Doo movie. There's so many moments in this movie where I just had to pause, take a step back, and just like, they did that in a
Yep.
Scooby Doo. It's like someone saying shit in My Little Pony. It just feels wrong.
Yep.
But turns out Captain Caveman is an excellent fighter, and he kicks the crap out of Blue Falcon, and also Scooby, who tries to activate his super suit, which apparently is limited to just like little pads on his feet that make him fly, but they're over in like a minute, less even than that, because Captain Caveman kicks the crap out of him. But meanwhile, because we missed out on something. So Shaggy basically offers Scooby-Doo a kind of toxic ultimatum. It's like, okay, either go with those people who say you have a destiny, or remain here with me on the ship and pout. And Scooby's like, well, why don't you come with us? And he's like, no, because I'm angry for no real reason other than I'm insecure, which does not match my character at all. And so Scooby's like, well, fuck you then, and wanders off. So Shaggy's now waiting in the plane. However, he goes out of the plane later and finds Fred and the Mystery Machine. He does not question why Fred is there or anything like that, but in fairness, Shaggy's a bit of an idiot, so fair enough. And he leads them...
Idiot. Shaggy's high all the time.
Well, fair enough. Oh, you know what? I was about to say fair play to this movie, but I won't say that. But I will say, at least they don't make any marijuana jokes.
Yeah, I know. But that would have made the movie great.
Yeah. But you know what? The live-action movie already did that, so, you know.
Yeah, but that's why the live-action movie is better.
Yeah, maybe that's
Listen, we all know that the reason why Shaggy wants to eat all the time and sounds the way he does is because he's high as a kite in every episode. Might as well just go all out.
Only baked people say the word zoinks. It's true. But anyway, so he leads Fred, in quotation marks, right to them, where he's revealed to be, surprise, surprise, Dick Dastardly. He gets the final skull and also Scooby Doo. And then he shouts out of the his airship, "See you in Athens," not, or something to that effect. And I was thinking like, why did you tell them where you were going? But maybe he was confident because he destroyed the Blue Falcon ship, so there's no way for them to get out.
Yeah,
and so now they're all arguing about whose fault it is and stuff. And I'm just thinking like, oh, we're at that point in the third act where, you know, it's the all is lost moment. Everyone's fighting, everyone's falling out, but then one of the characters is going to do a big dramatic speech about the importance of friendship and teamwork, blah, 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 blah. At least I hope it's brief. It's not. It goes on and on for several minutes.
Yep.
Then Shaggy says, "We need to work together, guys." I can't do Shaggy's voice. God damn it. I can only do the zoinks.
Well, neither can the voice actor, so it's fine.
Fair enough. And so then there's just like, okay, guys, we're going to get out of this. Are you with me? Yeah. And then it really cuts away from them. And I was just wondering, like, okay, how are they going to get out of this? The ship is completely destroyed. Oh, but they make mention of the fact that the ship's thrusters, while not powerful to move the actual jet itself, are still operational. I'm just thinking, like, okay, so what they're going to do is they're going to have a line where one of them says, how are we going to get out of here? Well, and then we have a montage of them attaching the thrusters to the Mystery Machine, which is there. We don't get that. They just completely skip over that. They were too lazy to do a montage.
Yep.
That's scary. That scares me as a human being. Just utterly terrifies me. But anyway. So Dick Dastardly arrives in Athens and uses the three skulls to open up a giant portal. Oh, gee, haven't seen. Actually, I say giant portal. What he really does is transforms the landscape of Athens, like the ruins, into what they looked in ancient Greek times. And when he does this, it's a bunch of kid characters who have one lines like, "Oh my god, what's that?" Yada yada yada. And I'm just thinking the producers' kids wanted to be in the movie, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't sound like kid actors at all. Like, you got Ian Armitage, like a pretty good child actor for the opening act. Couldn't get anything better than that for these one-off lines. I don't know. Anyway, and he reveals the gates of the underworld, and he forces Scooby Doo to open it. However, this releases Cerberus, who, in fairness, looks pretty badass.
Yeah, he does.
And while all that's going on, the Mystery Machine flies in, but they're targeted by Dastardly's airship. The little vacuum cleaner robot tries to stop it, but they accidentally get blown up. And the Mystery Machine crashes the ground. They manage to get out a bit later on, but the Mystery Machine is destroyed. And we're going to come back to that in a second. And so Cerberus is loose, and Mystery Incorporated and the Blue Falcon team have to figure out how to defeat them. While they're doing that, Dick Dastardly sneaks inside, and he's like, "At last, my treasure!" And then he runs past the treasure and sees the still form of Muttley. And he's like, "Oh no, I'm too late." And he cradles Muttley's... Well, he's actually turns out he was just sleeping. He's not dead, but he thought he was a corpse. And it's so sweet. It's the emotional high point of the movie.
I was gonna say this is the only emotional part of this movie.
And it's Dick Dastardly reuniting with Muttley, and he's like, "Oh, you mangy flea-bitten dog! Why did you make me think that you were dead?" And like, "Oh, I can't stay mad at you." And they hug for real, and it's lovely. And I'm just thinking, they should have been the main characters. If the whole point of this movie is to introduce all these Hanna Barbera characters so that you can do other movies with them, I can tolerate that as long as you give us a Dick Dastardly and Muttley movie. I can live with myself and this movie if that's what you do. Take advantage of this opportunity, Warner Brothers, or I will find you and I will cut you. Anyway, so they grab a bunch of the treasure because they're bad guys. Come on, they're not going to not do that. And run out just like, "Later, suckers! Thanks for the treasure, I'm my best friend!" And they're gone, but Cerberus is still around. And so they all band together and try and find a way to distract them. Scooby finds the Mystery Machine being totaled, but they all come out and they're all fine. But then Fred just sort of stands in front of the Mystery Machine, heartfelt over the loss of the classic vehicle. And I'm just sitting there thinking, not for the first time and not for the last, was that Fred's arc? His connection to the Mystery Machine? Because we only got that one scene in the Scooby-Doo original intro homage early in the movie with him with the car and nothing else. There was no line of dialogue, no scene, no visual clue that he had a strong emotional attachment to the car. So...
Hello.
What's that? Hello? Hello? Okay. I'm still recording. Hello?
Hello.
Okay, I think you cut out for a bit there.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, hopefully that'll be fine with the recording and everything. I'm sure it'll be
Cool.
fine. Yeah. So what was the last thing you heard me say?
was that Fred's whole arc?
Just like, because like, bear in mind, we didn't get a scene of like Fred having an emotional attachment to the car or a line of dialogue that showed that he really cared about the car. There was nothing, and now he's like, I mean, but you need to show. I say show, don't tell, but you didn't tell us either. You neither showed nor told us that Fred really fucking liked the Mystery Machine. And now he's just like, oh no, the Mystery Machine. And none of the other characters really care. They're just grateful to be alive. But he, like, stares at the smouldering wreck of the car. And it's just like, I know we have a strong connection to the Mystery Machine. And then he, like, takes, like, on the hubcaps and stuff with, like, the little flower symbol on it. It's just like, yes, revenge. And then he charges at Cerberus and gets his ass kicked. But still, and it's just, you can't just throw stuff at us movie and think that it'll make sense. Like,
yep,
you have to try. You have to actually write something, script writers. You know that thing, writing something to make stuff make sense. Could you do that for a second, please? Oh God, and
we're almost done. We're almost there.
We're almost done. Dynamite and Blue Falcon bond. She reveals that. And Blue Falcon is just like, the suit is what makes me a hero on the outside, but I'm what makes me a hero on the inside. And Dynamite's like, yeah, but the suit also gives you, like, jetpack wings, which, admittedly, do look fucking awesome. I'm just going to say that. And so they all try and fight Cerberus. They manage to get it to go back in, and then they defeat it. Yay. That was the big climax of the movie. The Mystery Gang not revealing a ghost that wasn't actually a ghost. It's defeating Cerberus, who turns out to be Cerberus. This wasn't like a big fake thing. It was actually Cerberus. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. And so they're like, hooray! But we got to lock the gate to make this all, go back to normal. We've got to reset the status quo. But it turns out, whilst Scooby could unlock the gate by itself, it turns out it needs two people to lock it back up again. And it turns out it's got to be Shaggy and Scooby. But here's the thing. One of them has got to stay inside the underworld. Oh, no. Oh, blimey. And so, of course, one of them is going to sacrifice themselves for the other. Is it going to be Shaggy or Scooby? It's Shaggy. Oh, okay. Oh, it's so sad. And they lock it, and Shaggy is gone forever. No, really, he's gone forever. The classic character that's been beloved since the goddamn 1960s is gone now. He's trapped alone in the underworld, and there's no hope of rescuing him. That's how the movie ends. The credits roll immediately afterwards. The tiny, sad violins play. It's a really, really emotional thing. Oh, wait, no, there's a bullshit get-out clause with a secret backdoor entrance that he immediately comes through and everything's fine like 30 seconds later. I felt nothing.
Nope.
Nothing. Not even even knowing that he could get out, even despite that, sometimes if a movie does something well, I could have felt something like, okay, so I know he's going to get out, but it's still sad in the moment. It wasn't sad in the moment. Not at all.
Nope.
It was.
Nope.
It was emotionally dead. And then admittedly, the way he exits the underworld is kind of funny. Like a statue appears out of nowhere, and Scooby's like, Raggy, come home. And then the little door opens, and Shaggy appears as a silhouette in it. And then the big Cerberus paw just like flicks him out and shuts the door. And it's kind of funny, but at the same time, I didn't laugh. I was beyond laughing at this point. Like, I recognized that was funny.
I was broken.
I was broken. It was broken. And the gang celebrates, and it was like, yay, we're all back together again. And then a little bit later, in Venice Beach, not Coolsville or anywhere like that, Venice Beach of all places, they open their, I guess, headquarters or something, like the base from which they operate.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually an interesting addition, because we never actually had that. In the original show, all they did was just, like, randomly wander from place to place and just happen upon mysteries. It was kind of weird that was how they lived their lives.
I mean, kind of, but I guess, but like for the 60s and 70s, like a lot of people would just like drive around in their vans. Like that wasn't that unusual from my understanding.
But did those people constantly encounter ghosts or people to pretend like that was never in any of Jack Kerouac's books?
No, but you know.
Yeah, I do know. But anyway, and then they get and then there's like, hey, where's the DJ? Oh, he should be arriving any minute now. The DJ is Blue Falcon, who arrives with Dee Dee and Dynamite, and it's like, oh, Falcon's a DJ now. Cool. Were we missing a scene where Blue Falcon said, I never really wanted to be a hero. I just did this to impress my dad. What I really want to be is a DJ. Again, never got that. He's just a DJ now. And then they give them a car. There's like a new, upgraded, sleeker, weird Tesla-looking mystery machine, and I hate it.
Yeah.
What was wrong with the original, classic, enduring, pop culture icon mystery machine? Why are you updating that?
Well, it could be that because the mystery machine, like because this movie takes place in modern times, like that car that Fred had could have been like passed down through his family, and so now it's like, well, we need to actually get a new car, and it's harder to do that, I guess. Listen, I don't know, okay? I don't fucking know.
I don't know why.
I was over this. I was over it by this point.
I'm fucking over this at this point. I've been over it for a while. And so then they get a call from a random One Day at a Time cameo. I don't know why. And then it's like, oh, there's a new mystery gang. Would have been nice to see that for the vast majority of this movie, but nope, it's going to be done off screen. And they go away to solve the mystery whilst leaving the vacuum cleaner robot in charge of the shop. The thing can't speak English. I don't know how it's going to help anyone. Does it have any managerial experience? No, I don't know. And then we get the credits with a stupid, shitty pop song which shows the continuing adventures of all these characters with the Blue Falcon recruiting.
I turned it off by that point.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of like there's like a bunch of like just images over the song and over the credits.
Yeah, no, I know. They usually most
Falcon
animated
Force,
films.
As they're now dubbed.
Yeah, the animated movies usually do have great ending credits in terms of animation, but I was like, nope, I'm done. Turn it off.
It's not even good animation. It's
it's
nicely
good.
drawn, but it's 2D.
Okay, good.
I kind of wish the whole movie had been like that.
Yeah.
But like the Falcon Force recruits Captain Caveman, who we saw earlier. I don't know how that happened, and these other characters called Jabberjaw, Atom Ant, and Grape Ape, whom I don't know anything about and don't want to know anything about, frankly. And also the Mystery Inc. gang go solve mysteries and also leave all those robots in the care of Dr. Benton Quest from Johnny Quest.
Cool. Great.
Why? Oh, what's next? Are they going to go and open a private detective agency with Top Cat? Are they going to try and, are they going to, help save the forest with fucking Yogi Bear? Tell a story! Just tell a story! A story, not many different stories. Just one cohesive narrative with characters that we know and just expand their characters and develop. This movie is horrendous! And funny! And horrendous! But beautifully animated! But horrendous! I hate it! I love it! I love it! I like it! I'm so confused!
I mean, I'm not confused. I hated it, so...
Let's talk about the voice acting.
Sure.
Frank Welker. Well, here's the thing. Okay, so Frank Welker returns as Scooby Doo. I would never say a bad word against Frank Welker. He's amazing.
No. He's fine.
Okay, so for the last couple of years, Shaggy has been voiced by Matthew Lillard, who did him in the live action movies, and I always thought that was kind of cool that Matthew Lillard did Shaggy so well in those movies. And as much as I
Yeah.
had problems with those movies, I did think he was very good at playing Shaggy. He's done a great job of voicing him in subsequent iterations as well. And apparently, he was rather disappointed that he did not get to play Shaggy in this movie. But it's
It's
okay
for the
because
best.
Will Forte got to play him. Okay,
It's
so
for the
Will
best.
Forte. Will Forte. How can we describe Will Forte?
It's
I have
bad.
no. Here's the thing. I have no strong feelings about Will Forte one way or the other. He's just going to be one of those actors that I don't care about. Not in a negative way or a positive way. I just don't care. And I can honestly say that in this movie, when it comes to Shaggy, he tried. He failed, but he tried.
Yeah.
Because like it's it very much sounds like someone trying to do Shaggy. It sounds Shaggy-esque. It sounds Shaggy adjacent. And I could live with that if it weren't for the fact that you already had an actor who could do a perfect Shaggy voice.
I
He's
mean, look, this is the thing. The thing is that it's very clear to me, and this is the whole reason why I never wanted to see this movie in the first place, is that because it is a big studio movie, they wanted to get higher end actors to play these characters, hoping that the names or the fact that they've been in other big things would bring audiences in, or because that's just the thing to do in animation now, instead of just using the actors who are already
yeah,
good at playing these characters on television. And that's why I said I'm not seeing this movie, but then you made me watch it. So
yeah, but here's the thing. Does Will Forte have enough star power to drag in audiences? No offense to Will Forte, but is he like, oh my god, I wasn't going to see this movie, but now that I hear that Will Forte's in it, sign me right the
he
fuck up. Like,
doesn't
is that a
he No, but I think the thing is that animation has now gotten itself stuck in a place where they feel like they have to pick a somebody, even if they're not like a well-known somebody, they have to pick a somebody to voice these characters instead of doing like an actual voice actor, or for like musicals instead of doing like an actual Broadway star to do these voices. This is part of the reason why I actually was okay with Frozen, because they kind of went back to the tradition a little bit. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
yeah, and so it's not good, but I mean, at least he's trying. You know, it sounds vaguely hippie-ish. Mark Wahlberg, we've already discussed. Jason Isaacs, we've already discussed. He's great. Gina Rodriguez as Velma Dinkley. Now, it's pretty clear in this movie that Velma is Latina. And I gotta say, I actually kind of like that because Velma, oddly enough, has been the only character in various iterations who's been portrayed by people of different ethnicities. Uh, in live action, she's been portrayed by Caucasian people, but also by Asian people, well, an Asian person, as far as I'm aware. I think it was Haley Kiyoko in one of the direct-to-DVD prequel movies things, anyway. And now Gina Rodriguez. And it works perfectly. There's absolutely zero problems with that. It's still Velma. She's just now Latina. So all those people who say that you can't recast characters that were previously one ethnicity but are now a different ethnicity, you officially don't know what you're talking about. So shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah, no, that's just stupid.
Yeah. Having said that,
Anyway.
her performance, what do we think?
I mean, again, it doesn't, like, it's fine, but it doesn't sound like the characters that I grew up with. That's the issue that I have, is like, you already have actors that exist in the world that have perfected their voice to where they can mimic these characters sound so well. So I don't get why they didn't just do that, because it doesn't, that's part of the, it's very hard for me to look at this movie and be like, oh yeah, that's Velma, oh yeah, that's Daphne. Like, it doesn't feel like them because they don't sound like them.
Hmm. And on the characterization of Velma, I mean, they got the whole smart thing down very well. That famously, that's easy to do. But here's the thing: previous, more recent versions of Scooby Doo have added stuff to Velma's character. Most notably in Mystery Incorporated, they gave her a really sarcastic edge, which I absolutely adored. But it still felt like Velma. Here, she's kind of a little sarcastic every now and then, but it's so deadpan that just the way Gina Rodriguez is doing it, it's not bad, but it's on it. But it doesn't work. It does not work, and it just makes it feel kind of boring. And the one thing Velma has never been is boring.
Yep.
Then we've got Amanda Seyfried as Seyfried, however the fuck you say her name, as Daphne. I actually thought she was pretty good as Daphne. I'm not saying you have to do a Grey Griffin impersonation, although frankly, Grey Griffin again, she's available. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
she could do it. She's great as Daphne, but Amanda Seyfried I thought was fine as Daphne, and I actually really enjoyed the characterization of Daphne. Like when they're at the bowling alley and she discovers that Shaggy and Scooby have gone and have been abducted and were attacked by killer robots, and the Aubrey Plaza-esque bowling alley attendant is describing all of these and saying, yeah, look like they've been betrayed by their friends and got really hurt, and whoever those friends are should probably feeling really bad about themselves. She starts to have like a panic attack, like, oh god, our friends, we hurt them. And I actually really like that, and I find it kind of funny. And I thought Amanda Seyfried did a good job at portraying that aspect of her. It's just, if you are very familiar with the original voice or subsequent voices of Daphne, you might not like that sort of at least her interpretation. But honestly, for what it's worth, I thought she was fine.
Yeah.
Then we got Zac Efron as Fred. He's funny occasionally.
Yeah, like I don't have a problem with the way that the characters were characterized. Like I said, it's really the voices itself that had a problem, especially since especially for Fred and Shaggy. I feel like because one, Shaggy's voice is so iconic, and for Fred, it's basically been voiced by like the same guy since like the show first came out. So like if it's anybody different, it's gonna sound weird.
Yeah, I mean, you already had Frank Welker in the movie. He could do Fred Jones, but
Yeah, exactly.
but kids love Zac Efron. I guess you know what. I can't hate Zac Efron because like he's so loaded with abs that he's just ascended to this realm of like I can do any movie I like and just be great in it and no one will care, but I'll just have fun, and that's how I'm gonna live my life from now on. And I've got to respect that. Go, Zac Efron, you weird, beautiful ab child. Just go and be free. Anyway, and then so as we mentioned before, Kirstie Clemons is Dee Dee Sykes. This role could have been played by anyone. She did a great job. I like Kirstie Clemons.
Yeah.
But it's fine. Ken Jeong is delightfully sarcastic as Dynamut. Tracy Morgan is Captain Caveman. There's really not much more we can say about it. He's in the movie so little. Billy West is Muttley, and he sounds like Muttley. He sounds exactly like Muttley,
Yeah.
so well done, Billy West. But then again, Billy West is an actual voice artist, so, you know.
Yep.
Also, we get... okay, so we mentioned Simon Cowell is in the movie. When I mentioned the producer wanted his kid to get involved, I think he got his son involved because in the on the IMDb and all that sort of stuff, the character of Ben, and I've no idea who Ben is. Guess one of the kid characters is voiced by Eric Cowell. So I guess Daddy got Eric a little role in Scooby Doo. Good for him. That's a great birthday present, Simon. Well done. But slightly more notably, there's this character that we didn't mention because he's not worth mentioning, who's off screen, who's like, I don't know what his job is on the Blue Falcon plane, but we only hear him off screen, called Keith. He's like I don't know, a staff member of the Blue Falcon jet, and he's voiced by Henry Winkler. And I didn't know that. And I kind of laughed at some of Keith's lines during the movie. Then I saw Henry Winkler voiced him, and I just realized, oh, what a spectacular waste of a great comedic legend.
Yep.
It's Henry Winkler. I mean, it's not like the guy's been in a slump recently in terms of his comedic roles. He's been going from strength to strength to strength, whether it be small cameo roles to bigger roles like in Barry. And this is what you use him for? This? Keith? The guy we don't even see? The fuck? What the hell does it take? Oh, God. And then Christina Hendricks is that Officer Bimbo. She's got an actual name. She's called Officer Jaffe, which is a reference to Nicole Jaffe, the original voice of Velma. But I'm just going to call her Officer Bimbo because I can. She voices that character. And I'm just thinking, okay, so you got Christina Hendricks, who's in this TV show Good Girls, which also stars Matthew Lillard. That's going to be an awkward conversation between them. What, you get to be in the new Scooby Doo movie, but I don't? I'm Shaggy, motherfucker!
Honestly, Shaggy, he dodged a bullet on this one, I think.
Matthew Lillard, that's his actual name. He's not called Shaggy.
He's Shaggy to me. That's all I call him when I see his face. I'm like, yeah, that's Shaggy.
Fair enough. There's actually a few other characters. Oddly enough, no, not all of them police officers, but some of them police officers. There's a few characters that are named after original voice actors of Scooby Doo. Like, there's an Officer Casey, who's named after Casey Kasem, the original voice of Shaggy. An Arthur North, who's named after Heather North, who's the second voice of Daphne. And that bowling alley attendant, she's played by Maya Erskine, is called Judy Takamoto, who's a reference to, I don't know how to say this name, so I apologize if I mispronounce it, Iwao Takamoto, who apparently was the original designer of Scooby-Doo, which I didn't even know. So that's an interesting bit of trivia. And the character at the very end of the movie that summons Mr. Inc. to their new mystery, that I said there was a One Day at a Time cameo, that was because that's voiced by Justina Machado from One Day at a Time, who again is a very good comedic actress who deserves more than one line, which basically isn't even funny. Just like, hey, Mr. Inc., I need your help. I guess there was a favor to her kids. I don't know if she has kids or not. And the only other character that we need to really mention is Fred Tatasciore. I can never remember how to pronounce his name. Very prolific voice actor, very good voice actor who voices Cerberus. And that's it. And so, yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag. And oh, God. So that sums up this whole movie. It's just a mixed bag. For every one good thing it does, there's a bunch of weird shit and bad shit, and it's just all mixed together. This is very much just a... It's like when you mix a bunch of different paint together, and then you're just left with brown. The color of shit.
Yep.
That's what this is.
Yep.
And the sad thing is, it made bank. And now we're at the point where it's like topped the digital rental charts, which I didn't even know was a thing, but apparently it is. And yeah, so this movie's a hit, despite getting, what is it, a 50%?
50%.
Oh, what a coincidence that we said this movie's a mixed bag, and it's literally 50% of critics give it a positive review.
I mean, bless the people that gave it a positive review. I don't see...
The consensus appears to be it's fine for kids, which I would argue strenuously against, but adults aren't going to get much out of it. And yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Adults aren't going to get out of it. And this movie, Capers, if you have kids and you're thinking about showing them this movie, don't. This does not have the Podcaper seal of approval. This is not appropriate for kids. There are just one too many innuendos, references, and just adult humor that I honestly think makes it inappropriate for for younger kids. If you've got older kids and you think they can handle it, fine. But even then, I can't recommend it because it's just not
No,
a good movie.
I recommend Scooby Doo on Zombie Island. 10 out of 10.
Right.
Just watch that one.
So here's the thing. Scooby Doo Zombie Island. We mentioned, including that, there's 3 movies. And obviously I'm not including the Zombie Island series of movies that go on spin-off for that. But there's 3 movies, including this one, Zombie Island, and the live-action one. And all of them are connected by the fact that they have real monsters in them. And there's sort of a perfect spectrum of how to do it well and how to do it not. Because I'm kind of a purist. I believe that Scooby-Doo should always fight fake monsters and always reveal. You can make it as convincing as you like, but you always have to reveal that it's a man in a mask. Zombie Island is the exception to this, and some of the subsequent sequels to that movie, because they told a good story with an intriguing mystery that's been explored by interesting characters that are properly developed. So I can excuse the fact that it's kind of veering away from the source material because they told a good story. The live-action movie and this movie do not. So there is absolutely zero excuse. Fuck off, Cerberus. I don't care if you look awesome. Shit. I hated this shit. And, God,
I also recommend the Witch's Ghost one, not because that one is necessarily like a good movie. I haven't seen it in a while, but it has the Hex Girls. You can't go wrong with that.
Actually, I think did we actually release this or not? Alex and I did an episode on those movies on Podcapers for Halloween, but I think I have such bad memory, capers. I do apologize if we actually did release this, but I think we ended up not releasing it because the audio got corrupted. So maybe this coming Halloween, assuming something terrible doesn't happen like it does every Halloween on this show, you and I could review them. Just because it's just an example of how to do Scooby-Doo right. I hope better yet, just go and watch the original show. Or even better than yet, go and watch like What's New Scooby-Doo, which is what I grew up with after watching the original. Or Mystery Incorporated, a genuinely great show with an interesting mystery. And it's just... Here's the thing. There will always be a new version of Scooby-Doo. You think this version is going to last forever? It's not. It will be replaced by a brand new version. Hell, there's been like half a dozen new versions of Scooby-Doo since Mystery Incorporated. Maybe I'm exaggerating slightly, but it's never the end for Scooby. Scooby-Doo is one of those things that I think is truly immortal, and new people will come on, and it will be better. Or maybe worse. But if it is worse, something new will come along, and that will be better. And then once that good thing goes on for a little while, it will be replaced again, and that thing might be just as good, it might be better, it might be worse. The point is, with something like this, you just got to ride it out until the good comes along again. And while you're waiting, you can go back and watch the previous good. So as much as I despise this movie, both for what it is and what it could have been something good, I'm not so angry that I think, oh, well, this has ruined Scooby-Doo forever. This is not the end of Scooby-Doo. No. This is a speed bump on a road that never ends. And we'll always be driving down that road in the original Mystery Machine with Fred, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby motherfucking Doo. Is there anything else you want to say about this movie?
Don't watch it. The end.
Don't watch it. The end.
Yeah.
And don't watch it, but watch this other stuff, because Scooby-Doo, the reason why it's lasted this long is because A, it's funny, B, it just latched onto the public conscious, but also it has something important to teach us about critical thinking, problem solving, and skepticism. I've always described myself not as a cynic or an optimist, but as a skeptic, and I owe that in large part to Scooby-Doo, because all the other shows I was watching as a kid, all the monsters and magic were real. In Scooby-Doo, they were never real. And I think maybe maybe this is a stupid thing to say, but I think in real life, when you're confronted by something scary, like a lot of us are right now, it's important to either literally or metaphorically remove the mask, and you'll discover that actually what's beneath the mask is just an insecure old man. And they are never scary unless you give them the Oval Office. But anyway, on that note, I think we're going to end the show. Thank you very much, Jillian, for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And if you enjoy the show, Capers, please tell your friends, shout it from the rooftops. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our other super episodes. Have we talked about Scooby Doo? I'm pretty sure we talked about Scooby Doo before on the show. There's plenty of episodes we could talk about that. And you can listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, or at podkeepers.com. If you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe come on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AP2HYC. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone, the red and blue 3D glasses. Those are mine. And thank you for listening. This has been Podcapers, the official podcast for a place to hang your cape. Cue the music!